aim to do is the whole program is designed around the anti-cancer super six, which involves stress management, nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep, gut health and digestion, and toxin elimination. And when we go through the modules of the program, you'll see that there are 7 rather than 6 as per anti-cancer super 6, because change and growth is very important and underpins all the lifestyle habits that we're going to go through and talk about. So first of all, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Penny. I am a consultant clinical oncologist by background. I've been working as a consultant in the NHS for the last 10 years. And one of my biggest passions is how to integrate holistic care and whole person care into the oncological management. And lifestyle change plays a huge role in prevention from cancer, whether it is primary, secondary prevention, early detection, or after people have been affected by cancer. So it's a great pleasure also to work with a great team, the Cancer Coach team, who launched the Tree of Life program, which is what we are here for. And I've got my colleague, Dr. Steele, with me, who I will let her introduce herself.
Thanks, Penny. As Penny said, it's a great pleasure to be involved in such an exciting project that we're going to be talking to you about this evening. So I'm an occupational and a coaching psychologist. So my passions are really about lifestyle change and how we embed behaviour change within individuals. I'm an associate professor at the University of Leicester, where I'm engaged in research and teaching in those areas. And I'm also really passionate about workplace wellbeing. So how do we make sure our workplaces are healthy and that they are places that support and facilitate health, which would be particularly interesting, I think, in terms of talking about stress this evening. How do we balance out stress with our busy lives and our busy work schedules? That's something that really interests me.
Fantastic. And we've got other members of the team, James and Tom. Do you want to say a few things about you? James?
Yeah, sorry, just finding the mute button. Yeah, thanks Penny, thanks Catherine. So yeah, I'm kind of on the digital marketing side of things. So the nice thing with Tree of Life is it is based on evidence-based science, but then I suppose we need something to bring that to life and to piece it together. So yeah, myself and Tom are on the marketing team. So we've been building the Tree of Life program within a platform called Mighty Networks, and worked really hard on the animations that we've used to introduce the program and each of the modules, and then also the lesson videos, ideally in a way that we help to translate kind of the evidence-based science into a format that's easy to understand and to apply into each individual person's lifestyle, as that's all very different. So so yeah, thanks for joining, and yeah, hopefully you love what you see.
Thank you, James. Tom?
Just the same as James, really. I've only just started working with James, but I mean, it's a really good sort of program that we've been working on, and it's really nice to have you guys here.
Fantastic. And of course, we've got our health coaching team who are part of the program, and I can see a few online at the moment. And Sasha, you've got your video on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the mute button.
That's okay. There you are.
Yes, my name is Sasha Mogg. I am one of the health coaches on the team, and very, very excited about this new initiative, and just can't wait to get started. And I'm also a cancer survivor, and so I've got a lot of lived experience to bring to my expertise.
Brilliant. And obviously, as the program, you probably have seen, for the people who have joined. Hello, Leslie?
Yes.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm sorry.
All right. And as you have seen and joined as members, you will see a number of modules and a lot of things that you could interact with in the Tree of Life Mighty Networks. You can be part of live community or of forums, of live webinars like this. There's a lot of educational material, and we're going to go through all of that this evening. And of course, the overview of this evening is we're going to talk about Tree of Life, what is the cancer coach, why anti-cancer lifestyle is very important, what do we know about prevention and cancer, what is the importance of adopting a healthy lifestyle for ourselves, our individuals, but the whole healthcare system as well. And then we're going to go into specifics of stress, which, as you can see, stress management and the whole emotional aspect forms the root of the tree, and then gives rise to the trunk, which is about the behavior change. So what is about stress? What is causing stress? And what kind of management we can use in our day-to-day life to improve our well-being and reduce the amount of stress in our lives. So that is the outline for the evening.
Penny, just to let you know, you're not, the slides aren't up.
I know, I was
Okay, I was just making sure, just making sure.
I'm with it, Tom, I'm with it. So let me do that. Is everyone okay with the slides? Everyone can see?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Lovely. So I want to know a bit about you. So if you could put on the chat, and that is how I'm going to stop sharing now, because I want to see who is putting on the chat and what. But if you could put on the chat, because there are quite a few of you today, your name and what do you hope to achieve from tonight's sessions? That would be fantastic. Everyone can use the chat on the bottom right-hand side. It's for me. Or anybody who wants to go off mic and introduce themselves, that would be great. And what you're hoping to get out of tonight's event. Hi, Navneet. Looking to develop knowledge on healthy lifestyle. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Leslie. You're a coach for cancer in the United States. Danny, hello. You're an executive coach. Exploring cancer coaching. I think for me, as an oncologist and a trained health coach, I think health coaching for cancer patients is particularly unique, and understanding the whole aspect of the patient journey is important, but also how different lifestyle modifications can help patients in that journey, and how can we empower and inspire people that they could make changes while undergoing treatment and following treatment. So I'm glad to see that a lot of people joining are working as health coaches with cancer patients. They have been cancer patients themselves and they have their lived experience. Okay, brilliant. Katie, you're studying to become a health coach. That's fantastic to hear. Lovely. Right, let's go to the slides. I hope you all see again my slides. Yes?
Yep.
Lovely. I can now not see the chat. So anybody who wants to say something, just come off the mic. So the agenda for today and the approach with any of those events is that we're going to pick a topic of the month. And today we're going to talk more deeply about stress and stress management, which, as I talked about, forms the root of the tree of life. We're going to meet the members, and as we can see, there are some of our health coaches here and people from around the world interested in lifestyle or health coaching, and there's going to be a Q&A. So that's how these events will run. And I'm sure you have seen that you can book through Eventbrite, and you have access to the Tree of Life membership there as well. And we hope that you can join the rest of our events coming up in the future. So, a bit of housekeeping. So essentially, you are free to use the chat or come off the mic if you want to say something. We're going to do some group activity as we go through the session this evening, and we will be asking some questions around your experiences and your values, etc. This is a group session, and anything obviously you say will stay in this group session. Please only share what you are happy for others to see or hear, but please do make a contribution, because I think that's how we learn from each other and from our experiences, and it will make the session a bit more interactive. Anything to say, Catherine?
No, just for those with in the chat, for those of you that have already introduced yourself, that's great. I can still see the chat. I know Penny can't, so if anything comes up in there, I'll let you know.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Catherine. So we talked very briefly about Tree of Life and what it is. So Tree of Life is a revolutionary program which is around empowering people and inspiring people to improve their lifestyle. And by doing so and adopting healthier habits, there are a lot of benefits for our health. And we're going to talk about a bit later how leading a healthy lifestyle, what that means, and how can this improve our quality of our lives and also reduce the risk of chronic illness like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. We know nowadays that around 50% of our population suffers from at least one chronic illness, as the ones I mentioned. Also, 1 in 2 of us will receive a cancer diagnosis in our lives. We also know that 1 in 4 cancers are due to our lifestyle. So there's a lot to be said around taking control of the way we live our lives, what we consume, what diet we follow, how we manage our social life and our network. What about our environment and the different toxins, and how can we minimize exposure to those? And the name Tree of Life comes from the fact that when we want to change something in our lives, so the seed comes from our motivation to change and our intention to change. And then the seed becomes the strong roots, which are rooted in us having a stable mental state, having a good social network, but with an intention to change and grow. So we build the trunk, and then we start developing the branches, which is the good nutrition, the exercise and physical movement, our sleep. And then we've got the leaves, and the leaves, the blossoming comes from having a good gut microbiome, because we know that that controls our immune system and a lot of our brain and bodily functions. And with that comes the environment, because tree will never be able to grow and blossom without a healthy environment. So how can we ensure that the environment around us is as healthy as possible? So the analogy of this is our lifestyle. How can we start building it, and start blossoming by living a healthier and more fulfilling life. So the Tree of Life program is a 7-module program, and it follows exactly that sequence of events: the seed, the roots which are growing the trunk. So the module 1, which we're going to touch upon today, is about managing our emotional well-being, forming the roots. And then it's about the trunk, the growth in module 2. How do we apply behavior change based on our values? And then it's module 3, the first branch, which is around the nutritional aspect. What kind of food choices can we make to enhance our health and well-being? Module 4 is around exercise and movement, which is the second branch. Module 5 is sleep, the third branch. Module 6, gut health and digestion, makes the leaves. And finally, module 7, protection from toxins. It's the environment around the tree that enables it to blossom. Catherine, do you want to take us through maybe the features of the modules?
Yeah, absolutely. So Penny's outlined the sort of structure of the Tree of Life in terms of how the modules are all laid out. And then within each of those modules, you've got a series of lessons, so videos where you can learn more about each aspect. And then, as James has already alluded to, there are some fantastic animations in there to help bring the subject to life, mentioned at the beginning. You'll also get a personal workbook, which has got some knowledge checks, which will really help you in terms of supporting your learning. There'll be live education events just like this one on each of the modules, as Penny said at the beginning, on a new topic every month, and we're aiming to make those quite interactive. So for those of you that are more active learners, you can really sort of get involved and delve a little bit deeper into the subject matter for each module. And then there's also within the Tree of Life a fantastic toolkit, which is sort of like your extras. So it's got all sorts of extra pieces of information. James said at the beginning, everything that we do is evidence-based. So it's all, strongly rooted in evidence in terms of this is stuff that we know that works, and we have evidence to say that it works for people. And for me, I mean, I'm very much a community. I'm an extrovert. I like being around people and working with people. For me, the real thing that I love about the Tree of Life is the community aspect. So there is an active community on there. There are sort of discussion forums where you can talk to, I mean, myself and Penny are on there. Our coaches are on there, as well as all of your peers that will be using the Tree of Life as well for various different reasons. So there will be a sort of forums on each different area of the Tree of Life that you can get involved in, and again, that's just another way of bringing it to life. So hopefully, however you learn, however you like to take in information, there is something for you within the Tree of Life program that will help you to really kind of embed the knowledge that's within it. And finally, each member also gets their own private journal. So if you're working through things, if you're working through the content and you want to make notes, you want to make note of things that you've learned, things that you want to implement yourself, then you've got a private journal that is just for you and secure within the Tree of Life program.
Thank you, Catherine. And one of the features I love is definitely the private journal. And it's just an opportunity to just reflect on the things that we learn through the modules and through the different resources and extra journal articles that we've got there. That can consolidate people's knowledge, and it can make your reflections a bit more deeper. But one of the things that I really like when I interact with the app, because I'm into digital health, and I think the experience of the end user is extremely important, and it's such easy to navigate, and it's such a relaxing interface, I would say. So I love going through the app. I don't know about you, Catherine, but I think the color pick is just absolutely amazing. Right. So Catherine alluded into online communities, and that is one of the main features of the Tree of Life. And obviously, when we talk about having psychological well-being and reducing stress, one of the ways to do that is through connecting with others. And we do that on our day-to-day basic and interactions, but when it comes to cancer, when it comes to chronic illness, having people to listen to us and understand and be able to relate is extremely important. Definitely something that I find with my own patients who value peer groups and communities greatly. But even for people who just want to hear from others, how are they managing to adopt healthier habits and get some ideas, or even some buddies to do certain activities together, or go for a walk if they live close by. That's really, really important. So there are a lot of benefits for interacting with our communities. And there are two types of communities. There are what you'll find in our network, some which are specific and interested in a specific anti-cancer topic. And then there's a general community for all Tree of Life participants who just want to engage in conversations and share ideas and share knowledge. So there is something for everybody in the Tree of Life program. And lots of the features that Catherine talked about, the evidence-based element, the fact that all the statements that are in there are based on up-to-date clinical and scientific evidence, and that's how we have gathered that evidence together. And obviously, the program will evolve as new up-to-date evidence comes along, and that is part of mine and Catherine's role to obviously peer review, and also our health coaches can contribute into refining and updating the program to make sure that our participants get the most up-to-date information and content. So I mentioned about the Cancer Coach, so I want to say a few words about the Cancer Coach, which is an internationally recognized provider of coaching and community programs. The purpose of the Cancer Coach is to support, to inspire, and to empower individuals affected by cancer. And that's really, really important, because we aim to inspire and empower not just individuals, but also cancer treatment providers, employers, and looking at employee well-being programs, and also people in the workplace wellness industry. So we want to influence and motivate and make people to see how important lifestyle is in every aspect of personal and professional lives. So our cancer coaching and Tree of Life programs are beneficial to any individual who has been affected by cancer, including patients who are currently undergoing treatment, cancer survivors, their caregivers, their family members, and people pursuing cancer prevention. As Catherine mentioned, I'm an oncologist, she's a psychologist, so we come from a scientific and medical background, and our health coaches as well have got a professional background, and that's really important when we build such programs, because this is based on clinical and scientific content, which is very important when people embark into such programs to get more information. So I will now stop sharing my slides just to get a bit of a feel from the audience about people's experience with cancer, relationship with cancer, or anything that you want to share related to the content that we just talked about. Who is going to volunteer?
You can either unmute yourself, guys, or you can type in the chat.
I'll go. Danny
Go on,
Mullins.
Danny.
My wife has stage 4 lung cancer. That is my most immediate connection to cancer. I will tell you, I have taken care of both parents and a sibling in that regard. So never me, but very much around me. And I've begun a class in cancer coaching because I retired from executive coaching. I would very much like to apply those decades of knowledge to help cancer patients. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for sharing that.
I think you've raised a really important point there, Danny. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, but also your experience as a caregiver. And I know Penny mentioned that caregivers are also, the Tree of Life is very relevant in that role, because, there is a need to take care of yourself in that position as well, isn't there, to be able to be there for the people that you're caring for. So I think that's a really important role within this whole environment, isn't it, to recognise and acknowledge, and the Tree of Life certainly does that as well.
Absolutely. And it's very important to state that, your knowledge can be shared with so many people around you, and you can influence so many people. So it's really, really important that you are here, and thank you for that. Anybody else wants to share their experience? No? Okay, let's move on. Just checking that you can see my slide again.
Perfect again.
Perfect, thank you. Right. Let's see where we are. Yeah, does that project well?
Yeah, perfect.
Brilliant. So I mentioned the importance of prevention, and we know that 4 in 10 cancer cases can be prevented. And these are data coming out from World Cancer Research Fund and Cancer Research UK. And we know that there are the fundamental 9 habits that we can change to reduce the risk of getting cancer. And these are stopping smoking, drinking less alcohol, keeping a healthy weight, eating a healthy diet, enjoying the sun safely, avoiding certain toxic substances, protecting us against infections, avoiding air pollution, and cutting down on processed food. And what this diagram essentially shows that cancer is a complex process, and there are lots of factors that affect the incidence of cancer. We know that some cancers are due to mutations. Some cancers are familial, they run in families, but the majority are due to environmental factors or our lifestyle factors. So we can do something about those and have some control about our risk of getting cancer. And you will wonder how and why, for example, being slightly overweight or obese can actually cause cancer. And we know that that process occurs inside the fat cells, for example, and the fat cells releasing proteins that can cause inflammation in our bodies, which can make cells who are supposed to die immortal. And that's how cancer is developing. So there's a lot more resources in our program, in our Tree of Life, to read about this if you're interested. So the impact of a healthy lifestyle, we've seen in the individual, it could help reduce cancer and other chronic illnesses such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, stroke. But imagine that effect of an individual into a wider population. And imagine if our wider population, as a healthcare system, everybody lived a healthier lifestyle. What would that mean for our healthcare system? We know that the demand for health has gone up because we live longer, and as a result, also chronic illness has gone higher. But what we know is the demand does not reflect the capacity of our healthcare system. So if we see this from a citizenship perspective, it's everyone's duty to look after our health and well-being. As individuals, for our family members, for our friends, we need to be encouraging people to live better. And there are a lot of programs nowadays happening in the workplace, and Catherine can talk to this, and the importance of health and well-being at work, because we need to keep our workforce healthier. And now frontline staff, not just in the NHS, but in other industries, we need them there to be healthy and productive. And health coaching is a way to address this. And health coaching is the discipline that empowers people to make those sustainable lifestyle changes. So I want to hear Catherine's perspective on this from a workforce and occupational health perspective. What are your thoughts, Catherine?
I mean, absolutely. I think we know, certainly in the UK, that sickness rates are at one of the highest rates they've ever been. I think certainly post-COVID, that we have a lot of people that are off sick long term. Things like long COVID have affected people. We know cancer rates are up, and Penny's already alluded to that. And I think what we're seeing, and Penny, correct me if I'm wrong, is diagnoses more in people of working age. So actually this is affecting people's ability to work. For those of you that are here from a HR or occupational health perspective, you know the costs involved in recruiting talent. So recruitment and retention of talent is really important. And I think now increasingly, my role as an occupational psychologist, I specialise in workplace wellbeing. Retaining talent is also about maintaining people's health and well-being. That's a really important part. You know, we see a lot about burnout, but there are also other kind of chronic illnesses that are starting to affect executives. Danny, you mentioned that you work in executive coaching. I think it's more than just stress now that we're talking to executives about. It's the whole picture of health. It's looking at health from a holistic perspective, looking at preventative healthcare, so that you know if you've got someone in a role, they can continue to perform and excel in that role because they've got energy, they're vibrant, they've got vitality. And these are all the things that maintaining a healthier lifestyle give you by improving your quality of life. So absolutely, it has an impact on our ability to work. And again, more broadly, the ability to work and have a sense of purpose in your life is also part of your health. You know, if you're in a job that you enjoy, and you're in a, you know, if you're lucky enough to be in a role you enjoy and a career you enjoy, you want to continue with that. And that is part of your health, isn't it? It's the reason many of us get out of bed in the morning, because we're doing work that has an impact. And without our health, that becomes more and more difficult. So yeah, absolutely, the impact on people's work ability, and for those in a management role to keep your employees working and healthy and active, and you know, contributing to your bottom line is the other side of it, isn't it? If you are coming here from an health perspective, you want people to be performing for the organization's perspective as well. So there's a whole host of reasons why being healthy at work and enabling your workers to be healthy is really, really important.
Thank you, Catherine. And I think you summarized it beautifully, the importance of such programs like Tree of Life in the workplace as a benefit. I mean, what amazing outcomes that will have for the employees. And I would certainly feel quite valued as an employee if my employer, you know, pays for some program like this for me to be able to maybe have a health coach and be educated about the lifestyle factors that I need to adopt to enable me to stay healthy.
And it's a win-win, isn't it? Because it's a win for the employees in terms of them feeling sort of full of vitality, and it's also a win for the organizations, because I think, you know, if you have benefits and it's shown that organizational commitment increases, organizational loyalty and productivity increases, it's also great for organizations' reputations, or all those kind of things. We know that employee benefits you know, have an impact on the organization as well, and their brand and reputation.
Fantastic. But by going back to the healthcare aspect and the preventative aspects, we know that adherence to cancer screening, for example, and to vaccination is not what it should be. And part of the lifestyle program, as we talked about, is understanding, you know, about infections, minimizing infections. And we know that certain infections, you know, can cause cancer later on. So having those vaccinations and also attending for our cancer screening, that will be a beautiful way of prevention and early detection. And again, health coaching helps with that accountability aspect of our lifestyle, which is key. So the next aspect that I think is very, very important, and I'm very passionate about that, is our values. And the Tree of Life program is based on people's values. As a doctor, as an oncologist, I prescribe things to patients, but as a holistic and integrative oncologist, I discuss with patients what's important to them. I coach patients about what matters most to them. And a lot of patient choices, if not all, are based on people's values and what matters most to each one of them. And if you ask me, I will say, you know, my values drive everything of what I do and how I perform, what choices I make, and even my lifestyle choices. And I have certain core values that basically how I behave on a day-to-day as a leader, as a doctor, as a mother. So our core values help us to align with our course of action, offers perspective, and support us with motivation through difficult times. And the Tree of Life program anchors around individual values and respects people's autonomy to make choices. So throughout this program, we are not going to prescribe a lifestyle. We are not going to prescribe a nutrition. This is not the purpose of the program. The purpose is to empower people to make the right choices for them, a specific type of diet that suits them, the amount of exercise that suits them, appraising the current educational materials and knowledge that we are going to offer to make choices about health. So it's very important, and you can spread that word out, that there are no educational requirements for entry into the Tree of Life program. There is no formal assessment, or there is no certificate. And it's not the beginning at the end. By the time you finish module 7, does not mean that that's it, you finish. You can revisit the program. You can see again and again what you've written in your personal journal. You can engage with the communities. And that's how we sustain that lifestyle change. So I'm going to stop sharing because I'm going to want to know people's values. So I'm going to type on the chat about my values, and I'm going to invite you to do the same. My values are integrity, honesty, and bravery. It could be one word for people. It could be a phrase. It could be unique for individuals. It could be shared with other people. Catherine, do you want to share yours?
Sorry, I seem to have forgotten how to spell. That's why it's taken me a while.
So we've got loyalty, integrity, passion, kindness, fun, health, independence, creativity, adventure. Oh, I love this. They're so different. Live while you're living every day to the fullest. Absolutely, Leslie. Curiosity, zest, love. Honesty, kindness, enthusiasm. Trust, compassion, positivity. Amazing. Understanding and freedom. Amazing. And I'm sure if I go into more in depth in everyone's values, there will be a story behind that, which we're going to talk about stories and personal purpose a bit later on. Oh, they keep coming. Integrity, kindness, health, honesty, integrity, compassion. Love it. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, back to the slides. I'm getting the hang of it now, Tom.
You're a natural.
Right. Okay, so we talked about Tree of Life being an evidence-based program. We talk about its aims to inspire, support, and empower rather than prescribe. And it's about giving people the tools and the knowledge to empower people to live an anti-cancer lifestyle based on people's values, based on their own unique circumstances, and starting where people are, essentially at the level where they are. I'm just going to pause at this point, and I want to hear if people have got any questions so far around the program.
Once again, guys, if you want to type your questions in the chat, you can, or if you want to just unmute yourself, then go for it.
Anything that you heard that you want to elaborate or question? No? Okay. I've been very clear. Okay. Fine. Oops. Sorry, I didn't do that correctly this time, Tom.
Jinx yourself.
Yes, I did. Let's do that again. There we go. Does everyone see?
Yeah, perfect.
Lovely. Okay, so we're going to go to our first topic then, and we're going to talk about stress. So what is stress? Stress is a response, okay? It's a mind, a body response, or it's a reaction to a real or a perceived threat, event, or a change. And there may be different stimuli, and it could be different for any of us. What stimulates our stress response, our body and mind response to stress, may be different to another individual. And those stimuli I called stressors. And it could be something that we perceive or we believe a trigger to be a stress, or could be coming from our thoughts and thinking intensively about something which is not very pleasant might cause stress. Or it could be a real phenomenon, like a death of someone, a loss of something, a change in our lives, and change of job, marriage, divorce, etc. And when the stress is acute, so it happens quickly and it goes quickly, it's a physiological response. We call it a flight or fight. So our bodies are made to respond to those stressful situations. For example, if we have to submit a work assignment, we are stressed at that time trying to finish it off, essentially. And that gives us our lots of blood flowing through our bodies, through our brain, and we may be working late, and that can create stress. But then once we complete that, the body should come back to its normal state. If the stress becomes chronic, so we live in a situation, in an environment which is very stressful and is very stressful most of the time, that coming back to the normal state of our body doesn't actually come very easy. And then the stress becomes chronic, as we call it. That may lead to what we call burnout. Okay, so chronic stress can lead to burnout, which is essentially our physical and mental resilience goes down. So anything that's added on top would probably explode some way or another. So the transition from being in a wellness state to a stress state can be quite dangerous to the body, because it's not just about feeling the stress, it's what physiological changes happen around that process, what chemicals, what proteins, what hormones are released in the body, and what they do as a result of that. So stress can cause inflammation in our bodies, for example. Stress can affect our normal bacteria in our gut called microbiome, which, as I mentioned before, it's essential for our healthy immune response. So you can see how those steps from being stressed to releasing hormones to affecting the gut, to affecting your immune system, the cascade of responses could be damaging to our health. So it's really, really important to first of all, understand what it is. Secondly, recognize what's causing it and those triggers. Thirdly, understand our body response to it, which is really important. Do we have a panic attack, or is it a temporary stressful situation? These are two things very different. And how is our body responding when we are feeling stress? And more importantly, how can we eliminate those triggers? And if we can't eliminate them, how can we adjust our response to them? So there's a lot of stuff there, and it's very difficult to unpack each and every one of those steps and how to formulate an action plan. And sometimes indeed we cannot remove the trigger. Okay, we cannot remove immediately a stressful job or a stressful relationship. But what we can control is our response towards those. And that's where health coaching can help us put that plan together. I'm going to pause there and ask Catherine from a psychology perspective, her thoughts around this.
I think you've covered everything that I would have said really about, stress. We know that stress has a physical effect on the body. We know I think we haven't always known that, hasn't been so widely known, but I think much more now we know that stress has an immediate effect on our physiology, which is negative. I mean, we do talk about positive stresses as well, but I mean, I think in terms of illness, stress is seen as sort of a negative impact. But I think the positive, and I know you're going to go on to talk about that, Penny, is that there is a lot that we can do to mitigate that. There's a lot that we can do to prepare our bodies for stress, because I'm not sure. I know some people say you can avoid it, but I'm not. I was listening to somebody recently saying that you could have a stress-free life, but I think for most of us that may not be the case. So I think we can do a lot to prepare our bodies so that when we do meet stress or stressors, we're in a better place to cope with it, and that we also know how to kind of calm our systems down after we've experienced stress. As I say, I know that's one of the things that you're going to go on to talk about, Penny, isn't it? Yes,
thank you, Catherine. Before I do that, I've been trained in functional medicine. So one of the things that that science told me is to go back a timeline with patients. So essentially, if we look back into our childhood and early days of life, we can see that if we suffer from chronic stress now, there is something back then that originated back then, and our response to stress back then may not have been ideal response. But I find very useful to go back and understand potentially childhood critical events that may have contributed later on in life to people having chronic stress. And a lot of people do not think that that could be the case, that something that has happened many years before can actually affect them now. And that is the first step of correcting it and realizing, past events can absolutely have an influence. But the good news is that that can still change, and the behavior to a stress can change with different mechanisms and different actions that people put together. And that's the very satisfying aspect of health coaching, I would say. So just want to go a little bit into physiology. At the end of the day, I'm a doctor, so I need to have a pathway somewhere in my slides. So essentially, for people to understand, when I talk about hormones and protein release and symptoms as a result, so stress response begins in our brains, and our pituitary and hypothalamus tend to release some preliminary hormones, and the organs that release the major hormones, I would say, that have an impact physically and mentally in our bodies is our adrenal gland. So adrenaline and cortisol are the two hormones that that are released primarily when we are stressed. And if you can imagine a time when you have been stressed, you may relate to any of those acute stress responses: increased heart rate, we are breathing faster, we may be sweating. Essentially, we feel full because our digesting system becomes slowed. Even our bowel habits may change. So all of those things signify acute stress. But then if the stress continues and it doesn't go back, we don't have breaks from that stress, then we may get into the chronic stress situation where health problems like insomnia and hormone imbalance, poor gut health, chronic fatigue, and others, as you can see, can arise. And again, when I see clients coming to see me with any of those problems, I tend to go back the timeline and understand from childhood what people have been through and how they have responded to stress before we start changing their behavior. Okay, so that was a summary of what stress is and what causes it and the physiology about it. Let's go into the positive aspect of how this can be managed. And as we talked about before, there is no one size fits all. Different ways to manage depends on people's values, on people's culture, and what they are willing to do. But we're going to go through a few tools that you will find in the Tree of Life program as well. And let's take mindfulness and meditation, for example. Okay, so when we talk about mindfulness, we are talking about a state where we are generally aware of our body, of our breathing, how we feel, if we are walking, the ground, the sounds, if we are out in nature, the birds, the air. So it's concentrating but being aware with our surrounding. Meditation is about concentrating at the moment and taking away the mind from what it's raising and that's what we are thinking about, and focusing it again on our breathing and maybe a good image, which is another way of doing meditation. So meditation and mindfulness can happen at any time, okay? It can happen anywhere. You don't need a particular setting to meditate, for example. It can be in the room, in the house, at work, and you only need a few minutes a day to get the benefit out of it. You can set a reminder, and it could be a time of the day where it suits you. It may be linked to another activity. For example, you have a lunch break for 20 minutes and you say, okay, the last 3 minutes I'm going to devote into a meditation time, okay? And linking this time to something that we do usually can make you sustain that habit and get the benefit out of it. So a simple technique is get comfortable, sit down, if you can, lie down, but you can also stand or walk. Take deep breaths, focus yourself on your breathing. And remember, there is no a single way, a right or wrong way of doing it. Just ensure that you concentrate on your body, you concentrate on your breathing, and you scan your body and pay attention on how you feel from the top to the bottom, from your scalp to the toes. You can accept that some areas are relaxed, some areas are tense in your body, and that's okay. Your mind may wander at that time, but that is okay and normal. Try to bring it back to the moment through the breathing. That's a very simple way of doing meditation and adopting it on a daily basis. But it's not something that many people are used to. It's a starting point, and it can be done in different ways, as I mentioned. So what I want to do as a group activity is spend 1 minute, and I'll stop sharing now, doing that, exactly that, what I described for a minute. So if you're sitting down or you're lying down, I want you to uncross your legs, sit comfortably in your chair, place your arms on your legs or your whatever feels comfortable for you. And when you're ready, you close your eyes and you take some deep breaths in and out. And out. And again, in and out. And start concentrating on your head, going down to your neck whilst you're breathing in and out. Imagine the tension coming out as you exhale. You feel your arms, your hands resting on your legs. You breathe in and out, and you feel the tension coming out as you exhale. You move down your body. You feel your chest, your abdomen. It's breathing in and out. Then you feel your legs resting on the chair, breathing in and out, and relaxing as you're exhaling. Coming down to your knees, shins, feet, toes. And as you reach the toes, all your tension has come out of your body as you exhale. When you're ready, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And when you're ready, you open your eyes. Don't know if that was 1 minute, but it could set me to sleep for sure. Catherine, what do you think?
I think it just always astounds me. One of the things I think that stopped me from engaging in relaxation practices for a long time was I haven't got half an hour to sit on a cushion, or, you know, I haven't got this much time. And I think you've just demonstrated how little time it actually takes to really shift your state, because my state shifted after that. And I hope other people have had that experience. It really does. I mean, I think a minute, 2 minutes, hopefully we've all got the capacity to find that in our day. It's like music, isn't it? Music can change your state really quickly, and I think a breathing exercise like that can change your state really, really quickly. And that was a big one for me, and is just how quickly you could do that in. So yeah, thank you for doing that, Penny.
I agree with that, and it's so easy to do as well. And I have used it between meetings. You know, those Teams meetings during the day that can happen forever, but actually we now have a habit of finishing 5 minutes earlier, and I do this a minute before the next one. And you know what? I'm concentrating much better. Right, let's go back to your slides. Let's make sure I do that. Right. Hope you can see that. Yes?
Yep, all good.
Lovely. So another way of meditating is, as I mentioned, imaging something. So you can have a guided imagery when you've got somebody guiding you through the process, or you can have an unguided. So you can think about, for example, a place that you feel peaceful and you enjoy, and you relate with something really positive about how you feel when you're there. And what does that do? It can actually reduce stress, and that's really proven. It can reduce the levels of anxiety. It can improve mood if we do that regularly. And as a result, we get the benefit of boosting our immune system. If we do guided meditation regularly, it has been shown that it can actually lower some inflammatory parameters such as cholesterol and blood sugar. And it makes us more psychologically resilient, and we are able to combat those extra stresses that come now and then in our lives that either tips us over or we just manage them. Okay. You notice that part of the activity that I did with you was about breathing. And breathing is very important. Imagine a time where you were very stressed and you were rushing to go somewhere. What happens to the breathing? Probably goes fast. Probably you cannot complete a full sentence. And that's not a paced and healthy breathing. Obviously, temporarily, it's physiological. It's part of the acute stress response. But if that happens regularly, it could be a sign of panic, especially if it's related to certain events or situations. And it's very easy to measure if we are relaxed or whether we are stressed, and that's to count how many breaths we take per minute. Of course, when we're exercising, that will be different because vigorous exercise can increase the breaths per minute. But generally, if we are not exercising, 5 to 8 breaths per minute means that we are relaxed. 9 to 40 breaths per minute happens when we're doing routine tasks or we are conversing with people. And over 15 breaths per minute, it's either we are doing vigorous exercising or we are panicking. Okay, so that's a bit of a tip of how to measure your level of relaxation. So mindful breathing is again quite important, and imagine breathing relates to the relaxation, okay? And breathing should be done in a way that relaxes us. If we are doing slow, deep breathing, it stimulates the parasympathetic immune system, it lowers our heart rate, and it lowers our stress levels. If we're breathing very fast, it's the opposite. So a good breathing, a deep breathing can actually improve our well-being. And it may not work for everybody, as I said, immediately. Our stress and our rapid lifestyle may stop us from breathing properly. But if we practice some mindfulness, some awareness daily for 2 to 3 minutes, and we concentrate on our body and our breathing, we will make this a habit eventually in those difficult situations to stand back, be aware with our bodies, and breathe properly. The next aspect is around gratitude, okay, and gratitude journal. So you've got your personal journal in the Tree of Life program that you put down reflections, learnings, anything that actions that you want to do. But one of the things that creates positivity and reduces stress is a gratitude journal. And in fact, this is something that I try to do as regularly as I can. And I try to do that with my children as well and make them hold a gratitude journal. And the effect that I've seen on them has been even bigger in relaxing them and putting them back into peace with themselves. But scientifically, keeping a gratitude journal can actually reduce depression. And it has been shown to reduce stress hormones such as adrenaline, cortisol by 23%. And when it was used for inpatients who have had suicidal ideation, it reduced feelings of hopelessness in 88% of them and increased optimism in 94% of them. It can also make us actually make better lifestyle choices. So again, it has been shown to reduce dietary fat intake by 25%. And it has been shown to decelerate the effect of neurodegeneration and generally keep the inflammation in our bodies lower. So you can see massive benefits of keeping a gratitude journal. I'll pause that again for Catherine's views on this.
Yeah, I absolutely love gratitude journals, and like you, Penny, I do it with my daughter as well. And I think there's evidence to suggest you actually can't think negative thoughts if you're thinking grateful thoughts. So when you're thinking thoughts of gratitude, you know, those more negative thoughts or negative voices in our heads that sometimes aren't our friends and sometimes don't encourage us to do healthy habit are actually quietened. So if you feel grateful, then it changes the way that you think. It changes the thought processes that are going on in your head. So some people do it daily, some people do it weekly. You know, it's finding a practice that works for you, isn't it? But just taking a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for. And it doesn't have to be big stuff. It can be little things. It can be things like having a nice warm duvet to snuggle under at night time. It can be things like, you know, going to the fridge and having food in there that's healthy. It doesn't have to be these really big events that we jot down. Mine are often quite sort of mundane, perhaps, but it's still stuff that I do genuinely feel grateful for. And I think that's it, isn't it? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just what you have that genuine kind of heartfelt feeling for, that helps to shift your emotional patterns and then has an impact on your physiology as well.
Thank you, Catherine. Absolutely. And given we are talking about positivity, do you want to talk to us about positive mindset, which is the next slide?
Yeah, very, very happy to. So I think, you know, positive psychology, adopting a positive mindset, in some ways has had a little bit of bad press, hasn't it, more recently? But it's not about being positive about everything. It's to me, positivity and resilience is very closely linked as well. So how do we develop a positive mindset? So it's maybe taking a little bit of time and thinking about what is it that's positive about my situation that may be linked to your gratitude journaling, and what is it that I can learn. Also, what is it that's actually in my control? So what can I do something about? And the kind of things that we're talking about here within Tree of Life, about lifestyle changes, are things that we can control. There are always things that are out of our control. And I think part of developing a positive mindset is developing a sort of healthy relationship with that and working out what can I actually do something about? Where do I have personal agency? And where do I maybe have to sort of park it and maybe come to a place of acceptance around what's actually happening? And that might be stuff out there in the big wide world, or it might be stuff that's more personal but that we can't actually change, or we can't change yet. That's another way to think of it. Maybe you can't change it yet, so it's best to perhaps focus on what you can. Think about the resources that you might need and what actions that you're going to take to sort of help with that mindset, and what support do you need. We've talked about the community aspect of Tree of Life as well. And I think one of the things that I noticed in communities like Tree of Life is it is a place where people provide that accountability. They provide that sort of positive environment, because you're all trying to do the same thing. You're probably trying to make similar changes, all the people in there. And people like myself, Penny, health coaches, you know, very much developing that positive mindset and drawing on positive psychology resources is very much part of what we do day to day. So there's that kind of environment and culture within there anyway. So why would you want to even think about developing a positive mindset? It reduces feelings of anger, depression, anxiety, and distress. So the evidence shows that actually changing your mindset has an impact on, I guess we call those things aspects of our mental health, but it also has an impact on our physical health and well-being as well, and our quality of life. So people that have a more positive outlook on life, perhaps we'd say more glass half full than half empty, actually do have higher health scores, reduced instances of chronic illness on occasions, and, you know, it really does help with that whole kind of physiological state within our bodies. And also we've talked about workplace and workplace well-being. A positive mindset has been shown to improve performance at school. So for young people, actually school performance, exam performance is enhanced, and also our work performance is improved. And I think if we look at sports psychology, we know that a lot of sports psychology is about positive mindset. So athletes using things like visualization, gratitude journaling, affirmations is another big part of developing positive mindset practices, and it actually improves their sporting performance as well. So lots of good things to result from just adapting our mindsets a little bit.
Thank you, Catherine. And one of the things that I find sometimes is that we focus a lot on the things that we cannot change or they are not pleasant, and we forget to focus on the things that we do well and go well in our lives, and that links to the gratitude journal as well. Sometimes when we write things down, what has gone well on our day, on our week, we see things in a different perspective, and we feel stronger to basically keep those that we control, the good things that we do there, and accepting the other things, as you say, that they're not going as well, but it's completely out of control.
It's a bit of a domino effect as well, isn't it? I think once you start to think these things, that you find more things. I mean, in psychology, we call it attribution bias. We can either have a negative or a positive attribution bias. And the more we practice, because it is something we have to practice, that the more positive things you'll see. So once you start looking for them, they're there. And that's very much this sort of positive attribution bias that we talk about. And there's decades of research on.
Yeah, and we know now scientifically, as you say, that adopting a positive mindset has physiologically and scientifically improving quality of life, and all those physiological parameters we talked about, isn't it? It's not just a concept, there is research behind it.
And as I said, it's not about being positive about everything, because I know, we are talking about cancer. We're talking about people at all stages of sort of experiences with cancer. So it isn't about this sort of just being positive and rose-tinted spectacles about things. It's very much about what is it that you can control? What can you take positive action on, take agency for? And then, stuff that maybe is out of your control or out of your control at the moment is the phrase that I really like to use with clients. We just sort of park it there and we accept that's where it's at. And I think that's a really important part of this discussion around positivity for me at the minute. It's about the things that we can control, not about everything.
Thank you. And that links very well, I think, to having a personal purpose in life. I think it's a difficult concept for some, and I think if I just ask somebody randomly what's your purpose in life, I think very few will come with a statement, isn't it? But I think it's really important, and that's where the journal aspect in the Tree of Life is important, because I think every one of us has got a purpose in our life, or I would like to think that that we do. But sometimes we haven't given enough time to realize that and think about it and align that with our values and how we choose to live on our day-to-day life. What do you think about purpose, Catherine?
I think there's a guy called Dr. Peter Attia who talks about sort of reverse engineering, and I do this with clients a lot as well. And I think you're right, Penny, we don't think about it. So I use 2 exercises. So you can think about your 100th birthday party and what you've achieved before you get to that point in life. Who's there to celebrate with you? Why are they there? Why do they want to be around you? What impact have you had on their lives? Or some clients will like to do a eulogy and really think about what is it that you want to be remembered for? What matters to you? And to me, that's how I kind of access my purpose is, what really matters. And a phrase I started to use with my 10-year-old daughter is, will this matter when you're 85, or 95, or whatever age we want to put on it. And I think it's for me, it's that long-term view. When we think about purpose, it is that long-term view, whereas very often we're kind of here, what have I got to do today? What have I got to do in the next hour? Whereas if you can just take a bit of time to reflect on that longer-term view of your life, for me, that's where my purpose comes from, is really thinking about it that way.
That's beautiful. You just said your purpose. I love that. Can I just ask people in the group here, does anybody want to share their purpose? Does it have to be perfect or formed?
If you don't want to unmute and say it, guys, feel free to type it in the chat.
Yeah.
And if you haven't thought it yet, maybe if you get a 5-10 minute break after this, just have a think about that reverse engineering. What is it that you want your life to be about?
Well, if I may, if nobody comes forward, I don't think I always wanted to become a doctor, but once I experienced cancer in a very young age with a close member of my family, I realized that I am here in this world because I want to make people better, and I want to improve how people live their lives, and actually be a good doctor and listen to people, be compassionate, even change the healthcare system to the better, to actually adopt all these things when we see and treat people. So I think, apart from being a mother and a wife, I think I've got a wider purpose in this world, with a bigger family of people who are my patients. So that's my purpose. Anybody else wants to share anything?
We've got
there's Yeah, I was just going to say there's been a few messages in the chat.
Oh, lovely. Okay, let's go up. Help people make today better than yesterday. How wonderful is that? My purpose is to motivate people to live fully despite cancer obstacles. Lovely. My purpose is to help support and change the way we live and help everyone prevent a chronic illness diagnosis. Thank you, Catherine. Absolutely beautiful. I think it is about helping and empowering people find the right path for themselves to live healthy and fulfilled lives. Lovely, Sasha. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we are coming to the end, and we've got the next few minutes until past to just, again, listen your impressions, any questions, any worries about anything that we talked about. Yeah, the floor is yours.
I'll take the floor.
Thank
I
you, Danny.
very much appreciate the perspective of prevention. A lot of the work that I have done and been a part of is after the fact.
Mhm.
So I'm encouraged and enthused by your approach. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. And could you tell me, when did you start thinking about prevention? What triggered, I guess, your appreciation of that?
This, honestly. So again, I am a caretaker for people who already have cancer. And most of the stances of the work that I've participated in has been to sustain, if not heal from that. So I haven't had the perspective of, as a healthy person myself, thinking about the prospect of getting cancer and what I can do to prevent it.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's absolutely key what you said, because we want our healthy people to remain healthy, isn't it?
Yes.
And for all the good reasons for remaining healthy, because we are caregivers, because we enjoy life, because we have our friends, and we want to live a longer, healthy life. So yes, we sometimes forget to target the healthy, the seemingly healthy people who may have a risk of becoming unhealthy later on in life. And yes, that is, I think, why we are all here, is the different kinds of prevention before something happens. But even if it happens and we have no control of it, we can prevent it from happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to share?
I did type in the chat, guys, but this goes for anyone who'd like to access the event video after. It will be accessible for everyone.
Lovely. And just to say, that will be, is it once a month event? I understand, James, is that the plan moving forward for events like this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this one we sort of tried to do the best as far as time zones, because we're talking to people across from USA, UK, Europe, New Zealand, Australia. So this one was really a UK European time zone event, and towards the end of September we'll be running another one with Catherine Froggatt, who's on this event here, We'll be running one that's for a New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Asia type time zone. So that's on September the 26th.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So if you enjoy that today, then you can join our next event in September. Encourage people around you to join as well. I consider lifestyle change to be a movement, and we are all here together to make that change. And it's really, really powerful. Health coaching makes a huge difference. It has certainly made a huge difference to me personally, but also in my work, in my family, in my leadership role, my professional roles and friendships. So consider spreading the word. And if there's nothing else to ask, then I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next event. Catherine, anything from your side?
One very quick thing is just thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I just encourage you, just very quickly before you kind of switch off onto the next thing, just think if there's anything you might do differently as a result of listening to the conversations this evening. Is there anything in your own stress management practices that this has inspired you to take on? Maybe a gratitude journal, maybe thinking about your purpose, maybe thinking about those short little micro meditations that you can fit into your day, and just maybe take some action yourselves around sort of your own personal empowerment around stress management. Just have a quick think about that before you go on to the next task this evening, or wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is.
Lovely. And thank you to Tom and James for arranging the beautiful setting and teaching me the slides, how to open and close them.
Got there in the end.
Thanks so much, everybody, and have a lovely evening. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.